What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Pokémon Switch. Now today we are going to be covering the topic of hand holding, which I presented at the end of the last episode as a question for today. The question specifically being, how has the level of supervision in the games changed over time? So supervision being like, how much is your hand held? Are you led along the path from start to finish? Are you a little bit of the way and then just set free? So one example of being set free would be, I guess, Breath of the Wild. We're using the example again because it's fresh in everyone's minds, where you have a small sort of tutorial section and then you are let free into the world and can do whatever you want to an extent. Whereas obviously Pokemon games are a bit more handheld. But how has that changed over time from Red, Blue and Yellow up to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? First thing we're going to be starting to look at is the tutorial section of the game. So how much tutorial do you actually get in the game, and how is that tutorial presented? Is it through speech? Is it like an actual demonstration? Or is it not there at all? So originally, thinking about Red and Blue, you had little to almost no tutorial at all. You started the game, you ended up getting your starter, and you had a battle. And from what I can remember, there was no sort of in battle section like, oh, do this, do that. I think in Fire Red and Leaf Green there was added in like a section where it was like, you can do this in battle. Whereas in the original games, nah, it was like, do what you want. It said fight, you clicked fight, and then you clicked to move, and oh, it did the move. You figured it out as you went along. The only actual tutorial such in that game was the Old Man Catch tutorial, where he shows you how to catch a Weedle. That's pretty simple there, and that has carried across into most games since. So Ruby and Sapphire, again, basically no tutorial. You're not shown how to have a fight. The only tutorial you have is again saying Wally catch a Ralts, and generally that's just a simple Wally needs to catch a Ralts. He's not showing you specifically. It's not like, hey, here's how to catch a Pokemon. It's more like, hey, I need to catch a Pokemon, come with me to do it. Similarly, that carries across into Diamond and Pearl, where you have, okay, this time it is I'll show you how to catch one, but it's a similar sort of thing with Dawn or Lucas catching Pokemon in front of you and going on from there, until we reach up to Alola. Now, I've skipped over the previous games, but Alola is the biggest example of how it's changed, because of course we have a few tutorials at the start of Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. You have the catch tutorial with Kukui. You also then later on have the Z move tutorial. Here's how to use a Z move, which is okay, it works, but I don't need to be shown how to do it. You just tell me to put Z crystal on and I eventually figure it out myself. And then we actually look at Melee Island as a whole, and we break down it's basically Tutorial Island from RuneScape. So you start off, you obviously have that huge long introduction where you have to go back and forth from your home a few times, you get your Pokemon, you have a battle as an example, then you get it to catch, and then you have another battle, and then you catch your Pokemon. That's sort of how it flows out. But after that, obviously, remember, you go to Kukui's lab, you get your Pokedex, then you move on to Holloway City, and you have an initial sort of, here's Team Skull, introduction to that. And then the rest of it is sort of the introduction to the trial system, which is fair enough. You do want an introduction to it, but as I mentioned, eventually you get that Kukui tutorial with the Z move, and it's like, I don't need to know how to use the Z move. I guess maybe, okay, some people wouldn't figure it out, but generally you're going to figure it out at some point. You put a Z crystal on a Pokemon, and then when you go into battle, it's a big thing that says Z move. You think you're going to figure it out. So Melee Island becomes basically a tutorial island. At least in Sun and Moon, it's lessened slightly in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon due to the quicker early game, but generally you're going to spend about an hour getting through Route 1, Icky Town, and going to the Professor's Lab before you can even reach a Pokemon Center. And that's what really gives it a tutorial island feel, because you have to do these things, and you've got to follow the exact path and be told these things and these things, as opposed to be just saying I'm an advanced trainer, I want to just start. Now, of course, that is the one way to fix this. We assume they had all the tutorial stuff in because we have younger children playing the games. This is ignoring the fact that originally when Red, Blue, Yellow came out, then there were younger children playing the games and they managed to figure it out fine. Children these days are babied a lot more. So you do get it. However, they could always add an option at the start of the games that says, have you played Pokemon before? If you say yes, you don't get the random tutorial, here's how to catch a Pokemon, here's how to level up, something, whatever. You don't get this extra tutorial feed as you play through the start of the game, whereas if you don't, obviously you do get that. Now, of course, there are issues to that. What if a young child doesn't know what they're doing and says, yes, I'm a Pokemon master, when they've never touched the game before? That is a problem, and there are, ways you can't get around that, but generally that's tutorial issues there with the hand holding. Generally, what you want for a game is the information given to you, you want enough information to actually play the game, but you don't want it force-fed down your throat like it is in Sun and Moon. I'm going to switch to Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey as examples of how this is done. Breath of the Wild, you find out within the first maybe few minutes of the game how most of the controls work, and you do get, examples. When you get a new skill, it shows you the controls for it. Similarly with Mario Odyssey, the first few sort of bits of the game, you are shown with visual cues like how to throw Cappy and how to do different tricks and whatnot. Now the reason this is a good way to do it, and the reason Pokemon can't necessarily emulate that, is because of the style of game. Zelda and Mario, the way you fail is you die, yeah? So if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to die. Pokemon, the way of failing is to lose a battle, and that's a longer process than just falling off a cliff or, getting killed by an enemy. You actually have to go in the battle, you have to process through the whole battle and then lose, and that feels really bad because you've spent all this time, whereas dying in a Zelda or Mario game isn't as bad because you just get to go back to the next checkpoint and it's a quick, simple process. And the way you can learn in the games like Zelda and Mario is, if you don't learn, then you die and you have to try again. You learn sort of via reinforcement, whereas Pokemon is a lot harder to actually do that, mainly because losing is level based again, so you're going to lose if you don't have strong enough Pokemon. You're not going to lose because you don't know how to battle, because eventually you will click fight and then you'll click a move. That's pretty simple. So while you could just let someone learn by themselves in Pokemon, it would be a lot harder because of the length of time it takes to actually use those skills. Hopefully that makes a lot more sense than I think it's making. But that's the tutorial section. So generally we want some option at least to say I'm an advanced trainer to not give me tutorials along the way. However, this will not help solve the second section, which is plot flow. I spoke about this before in the plot flow of Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon video, where I compared it to Sun and Moon and said like what actually changed in the games. Is this better than like Emerald and Platinum? So for those who don't know, plot flow diagrams are a measure of how often events happen in the game. So for example, Ruby and Sapphire, you start off, you have to go to Professor Birch's house. Then you have to go to Route 201. Then you go to Birch's lab. Then you go to Route, or 201, 101 or whatever, 104, or whatever the route is, to Battle May. Head back to Birch's lab. So every sort of event you have to go through in the game, so the flow of the plot. You have to go here, then here, then here, then here. And this helps visualize how often you're sort of stopped during your journey. So here is the flow diagram for Ruby and Sapphire, and you can see obviously I've shrunk it down, so I'm not expecting you to read it, but you can see from start to end that's what happens with a bit of post here at the bottom. Now here is the diagram for Sun and Moon, and you can see I had to shrink it down a lot more. Initially those blobs were the same size, but you can see there's a lot more events to happen. For actual sake of values, I had to shrink down the Ruby and Sapphire diagram to 16% of its normal size, whereas Sun and Moon's diagram I had to shrink down to 6%, which means that the diagram is almost 3 times as long as Ruby and Sapphire, which means 3 times as many events are taking place. Now you could argue, well, okay, that means the game's got more content to it. Maybe, but maybe not, because the games are the same length. You're going to finish Sun and Moon in maybe 12 hours, it's a total guess, I can't remember, maybe a day at most. Ruby and Sapphire is going to be a similar time. So over the same time, you are going to be having 3 times more stops, basically. 3 times more like, oh hey, I'm going to talk to you about something, which are, it's just not good. So more stops basically mean your supervision or your journey is more. You have a higher supervision level because you are being stopped at every town or every village or every route to be told something, and then it feels just jarring really. So the more supervised the game is, the less fun it actually becomes, because you, rather than playing the game and exploring yourself, you feel like you're just going from place to place following what you're told and then talking to people when you get there. I.e. there's no level of exploration given. It's not like you could talk to someone on Melee on Ikitown. It's not like you're let go on your journey after Ikitown when you get your starter and you get to explore the whole of Melee Island until you finish it, and then you can leave Melee. It's not like you have like 20 or 30 different events just on Melee alone. There is no level of exploration given to you to say like go wherever you want, as opposed to, as I said, open up a section for you to explore, maybe do like 3 or 4 routes, and then you can have your next cutscene. So the main cause of this is something that I'm calling the explore the region format. Now that's a really bad term because we want to explore the region, but explore the region links into the rivals. So a quick sort of history of the rivals. So we have, I'm going to split the rivals into like 3 different groups. The first group is the bad rival, and this we have Blue and we have Silver. These guys are the ones we hate, the jerks. So obviously originally Red and Blue, he's just your rival. He's a proper rival. He's not nice to you. You battle him across the story, and that's that. Silver, similarly, in Gold and Silver, he is a jerk as well. You battle him through the whole story. The second group of rivals is what I'm calling the friend rival. So we have May, Barry, and then Hugh from Black 2 and White 2. So these guys they are rivals. They battle you along the way, but they are friends more than anything. They're not jerks. You like them for the most part. They go on a journey with you. Then the last section we have are what I would call the tag-along rivals. So we start off with Black and White with Charon and Bianca. Of course, you start your story together and you explore the whole region together. Then in X and Y you have, of course, Serena, Tierno, Trevor and Shauna, who similarly start off your adventure in the first town and then you go through the whole region with them again. And then of course for Alola we have Hao and Lily, who go on the adventure with you, explore each island with you. And before we go further, we should mention that this isn't really the whole rival group, because as well as the rivals, you also have the professors, because starting in Black and White, the professor often went on the journey with you. Before Oak, Elm and Oak, Elm, Birch and Sycamore, I've completely forgotten his name. It's not Sycamore, I don't know, the guy from Sinnoh. No idea. Anyway, they didn't go around the region with you. You might see them like once more in the story, but they didn't explore the region with you. Starting with Professor Juniper in Black and White, she did go around with you. You saw her like 2 or 3 times through the story. Similarly with Sycamore in X and Y, you did see him 2 or 3 times through the story when you got your starter, and you see him again later on, and then again in Lumiose, and then again in Kuraway. But the real violator of this is of course Kukui, because damn, he goes to every single island with you and just follows you around the whole region and your rivals. So he's literally a third rival, but in the fact that he doesn't actually battle you until the end of the game. Now what these rivals and this sort of gameplay actually happens and makes you feel like is, as we see in the Sun and Moon plot flow diagram, more stops because these rivals are following you around the region, or being ahead of you even. So as a comparison, the original games with Blue, you meet him 8 times. One of them is optional. Actually, you meet 9 times, apologies. One of those is an optional battle at the start of the game, and out of those 9 encounters, you battle him 8 of them. So basically every time you see him is a battle. Whereas in Sun and Moon, I was not even going to count the amount of times you run into Hao, Lily or Kukui, and how many times you actually battle them. You battle Hao 7 times, and I'm pretty sure you run into him more than 7 times. So you can see what I'm getting at here. Countless encounters over the course of the whole journey. Feels like you have no freedom. You're just going from here to here to here, and they're ahead of you each time, or just behind you at least. And that again just robs you of the exploration factor and just makes it feel like a follow the path game. It started in Black and White with the 2 rivals and 1 or 2 professors travelling the region, carries on. Not as bad as Black 2 and White 2, but of course X and Y, 4 friends. That wasn't actually that bad compared to Sun and Moon, but now you have Hao and Lily. It's terrible. I think we can all agree. And then the final point I'm going to pick up on here, I didn't think about it originally, but someone commented on the last video about it and mentioned it, so I thought I'd bring it in here, and that's the experience share. Now this does link into hand holding. It's more difficulty, but hand holding is sort of linked with difficulty. And the reason the experience share itself is linked with that is because, again, in the old games you had the experience share. You gave it to one Pokemon and they got extra experience even if they weren't used in battle. Since I think X and Y we have the experience share, which is actually the experience all, where you turn it on and everyone on your team gets half experience regardless of whether they participated in battle or not. Now unless you turn this off, it means you can run through the game at a fair breeze. You don't have to worry about leveling up every single member of your team equally, at least as much. And there's no sort of grinding going on because you're always at above or the same level you need to be. So of course you can turn it off. That's an argument for the difficulty question. This here is hand holding. If you don't turn it off and you leave it on, it literally lets you cruise through the region with no sort of challenge at all, apart from maybe 1 or 2 battles. And that does link into hand holding because this is the game physically holding your hand itself and saying, come along, you can complete this nice and quick, and it's not going to be hard at all. And that again is hand holding, just because of how easy it makes the game. Now difficulty is a whole other question, we'll talk about that in another video, but I thought I'd bring this up here because it just allows you to do the game quickly. So in summary, you have I've forgotten the first point already. You have of course tutorials, so we've had a lot more tutorials in the recent games, especially the feeling of the tutorialness of the whole first island in Sun and Moon. You have of course the plot flow itself and the hand holding through the region. Really need to get rid of these multi-rival and multi-friend sections. Now how they affect the story is a different video again because they do increase the story factor to it, but we need to figure out a way where they improve the story but don't impede on the freedom of the game. So those are a few thoughts about this for me today, guys. So let me know what you think about it down below in the comment section. Is there any sort of thing you can think of to improve the freedom of the game so it's not less hand-holding? Or did you think Sun and Moon and Ultra Moon were not hand-holding at all and you just thought they were brilliant games? Do let me know down below in the comment section. And of course, next video is going to be covering another Sun and Moon topic, and that is the Rotom Dex, with the question being, what are the benefits and the downsides of the Rotom Dex? So I'm going to do a full analysis of the sort of Rotom Dex as a feature itself. Is it a good feature of the game? Is it a bad feature? How does it compare to previous features? And how could we adapt it to actually make it a lot nicer? Let me know your thoughts on that too down below. And this will be it for today, so I shall see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.